I'm Andrew Everett, PMI authorized training instructor for the PMP exam, and I'm going to review this exam content outline for the new PMP exam that's coming out in July 2026. Let's dig in. So as you'll see, this is the table of contents. This is the first area I would go if I was looking in this exam content outline. You'll see the domains. First thing you'll see is that the people domain is 33% of the exam weighted requirements. The processes is 41%, and the business environment is 26%. Those percentages have changed. The domain areas have not changed, but the percentages. The people area has gone down, I believe it was 42% to now 33%. That's 8 percentage points lower. The process area went down from 50% to 41%, and the business environment increased dramatically from 8% to 26%. So that means a lot more weight is going into the business environment ever before. So governance, compliance, and also external factors are more important on the new exam. This introduction introduces the PMI, the Project Management Institute, and also the PMP exam. The PMP exam is a globally recognized project management certification. It is the leading certification, not only in the US, but worldwide. It can make a difference between you obtaining that job, making six figures, or just continually looking for a new opportunity. I can tell you it's opened a lot of doors with me in my career, and I empower you to pursue the certification. This just highlights once again the exam content outline, the percentages of the items on the exam, and then it also tells you how they've done a lot of research to adapt this exam to the changing landscape within project management. And a lot of it is changed over the last, I say, decade because of the emergence of AI. AI has transformed the landscape. There are more AI projects happening now than ever. So project managers and practitioners have to be able to understand how this impacts projects that they're working on and also value delivery. And also with this, PMI wants to make sure in this exam content outline that you understand definitions such as domains, task, and enablers. Those are key terms that they're going to be using throughout not only just the PMBOK guide, but also within their exam content outline and their structure. So they want to make sure that you understand from a high level what these words mean so you can study more efficiently. So domain is defined as a high level knowledge area that is essential for the practice of project management. High level, and it's a knowledge area that is essential for project management. There's three domains: the people, processes, and the business environment. Tasks, they are the underlying responsibilities of the project manager within each domain. So they're the responsibilities of the project manager within each domain. And then enablers, they illustrate examples of the work associated with the task. So the enablers, they illustrate the examples of work associated with the task. So I want to make sure, because they have this noted here, enablers are not meant to be an exhaustive list, but rather a few examples. It's not an exhaustive list, just a few examples. And they have an example of this on the chart below right here. I'm not going to go too deep into this. Definitely make sure that you download the exam content outline. Both, if you're studying for the current one, download the one that came out in July of 2021. If you're studying for the one that's coming out in July, the new PMP exam, align yourself right now with the new exam content outline. And this goes section by section, task by task within the domain of the people domain. And as I mentioned, it went down from, I believe it was 42% in the current exam content outline to 33%. So in task one, you are developing a common vision. And this helps ensure a shared vision with key stakeholders. And it promotes a shared vision, and it keeps the current vision. And then it also breaks down situations to identify the root cause of misunderstanding of the vision. So that's task one, developing a common vision. In task two, you're managing conflicts. You're identifying conflict resources and sources. You're analyzing the context for the conflict. You're implementing an agreed upon resolution and strategy. You're communicating conflict management principles with the team and external stakeholders. And you're establishing an environment that fosters adherence to common ground rules. Ground rules are critical. You also are managing and also rectifying ground rule violations. That is so critical as well. Task three, you're going to lead the project team. You're going to establish expectations at the team level. You're going to empower the team. You're going to solve problems. You're going to represent the voice of the team. You're going to support the team in a variety of experiences, skills, and perspectives. You're going to determine an appropriate leadership style. So critical. Servant leadership. You're also going to establish clear roles and responsibilities within the team. In task four, you're going to engage with stakeholders. You're going to identify stakeholders. You're going to analyze stakeholders. You're going to analyze and tailor communication to the stakeholders' needs. You're going to execute the strategy and stakeholder engagement plan. You're also going to optimize alignment among stakeholder needs and expectation and project objectives. You're also going to build trust and influence stakeholders to accomplish project objectives. Those are so critical. In task five, you're going to align stakeholder expectations. You're going to categorize stakeholders. You're going to identify stakeholder expectations. You're going to facilitate discussions and align expectations. You're going to organize and act in a mentoring for mentoring opportunities. In task six, you're going to manage stakeholder expectations. It's so critical. You're going to identify internal and external customers' expectations. This is so critical. You also want to align and maintain outcomes to the internal and also the external customers' expectations. You want to monitor internal and external customer satisfaction and also expectations and respond when needed. You have to be aware of their expectations and you have to respond when needed. It's so critical. In task seven, you're going to help ensure knowledge transfer. You're going to identify knowledge that is critical to the project. You're going to also gather knowledge and you're going to foster an environment for knowledge transfer. Task eight, you're going to plan and manage communication. You're going to define a communication strategy, promote transparency and also collaboration. You're going to establish a feedback loop. You're going to understand reporting requirements. You're going to create reports aligned with sponsors and stakeholder experience. And you're going to support reporting and governance processes. So that is the first domain, the people domain. Domain two is the process domain. This used to be 50% of the weight of the exam. So this used to be one of the highest percentage areas. So within the process areas, but it still is the highest percentage area of the whole entire exam. So this is an area of emphasis. So within the process domain, you're going to, on task one, you're going to develop an integrated project management plan and delivery. You're going to assess project needs, complexity, and magnitude. You're going to recommend a project management development approach, whether it be predictive, adaptive / agile, or hybrid. You're going to determine critical information requirements, for instance, sustainability. This is a new section. You're going to determine critical information for that sustainability as well. And you're going to also recommend a project management execution strategy. You're going to create an integrated project management plan. You're going to estimate the work, effort, and also the resource requirements. You're going to assess consolidated project plans for dependencies, gaps, and also continued business value. You're going to maintain the integrated project management plan. You're going to collect and analyze data and make informed project decisions. You're also going to develop and manage the project scope under task two. The scope is critical. And how you're going to do that is defining the scope. You're going to obtain stakeholder agreement on the project scope. You're going to also break down the scope. In task three, you're going to ensure value delivery. You're ensuring value delivery. That's so critical. You're going to identify value components with the key stakeholders. You're going to prioritize work based on value and stakeholder feedback. So critical. You're going to assess opportunities to deliver value incrementally. You're going to examine the business value throughout the project. And you're going to verify a measurement system that's in place to track those benefits. And you're also going to evaluate the delivery options to demonstrate value. Under task 4, we are planning and managing resources. We're going to define and plan resource based off requirements. We're going to manage and optimize resources, needs, and availability. Under task 5, we're going to plan and manage procurement. We're going to plan procurement. We're going to execute a procurement management plan. We're going to select preferred contract types. We're also going to evaluate vendor performance. We're going to verify objectives of the procurement agreement and make sure that they are being met. So critical. We're going to participate in agreement negotiations. We're going to determine negotiation strategies. We're going to manage suppliers and contracts. We're going to plan and manage procurement strategy, and we're going to develop a delivery solution. So you can see that there's a lot of tasks under this domain. It's a huge emphasis on this exam. And it was also on this previous exam too. We're in task 6, we're going to plan and manage finance. We're going to analyze project finance needs. We're going to quantify risk and contingency finance allocations. We're going to plan spend tracking throughout the project lifecycle. We're going to plan financial reporting. We're going to anticipate future finance challenges. We're going to monitor financial variations and work with the governance process. We're going to manage financial reserves. Under task 7, we are going to plan and optimize quality of products/deliverables. We're going to gather quality requirements for project deliverables. We're going to plan quality processes and tools. We're going to execute a quality project management plan. We're going to help ensure regulatory compliance. We're going to manage costs of quality and sustainability. We're going to conduct ongoing quality reviews. We're going to implement continuous improvement. Under task 8, we are going to plan and manage the schedule. We're going to prepare a schedule based on selected development approaches. We're going to coordinate with other projects and operations. We're going to estimate project tasks, milestones, dependencies, and story points. We're going to utilize benchmarks and historical data. We're going to create a project schedule. We're also going to baseline a project schedule. We're going to execute a schedule management plan. We're going to analyze schedule variation. Under task 9, we're going to evaluate project status. We're going to develop project metrics, analyze, and also conduct reconciliation. We're going to identify and tailor needs based on artifacts. We're going to help ensure artifacts are created, reviewed, updated, and documented. We're going to ensure accessibility of the artifacts. We're also going to assess current programs. We're going to measure, analyze, and update project metrics. We're going to communicate project status. We're going to continually assess the effectiveness of artifact management. And we're going to also manage project closure under task 10. We're going to obtain project stakeholders' approval for project completion. We're going to determine criteria for successful close of the project or phase. We're going to validate readiness to transition. For instance, the operations team or the next phase. We're going to conclude activities to close a project or phase. And this includes lessons learned, retrospectives, procurement, finances, and also resources. And the last and final domain is the business environment. This, like I mentioned before, used to be 8% of the exam weight. Now it's up to 26%. And we're going to start with task 1. It is defining and establishing project governance. You're going to describe and establish the structure, rules, procedures, reporting, ethics, and policies through the use of organizational process assets. You're going to define success metrics. You're going to outline governance, escalation paths, and thresholds. Task two, you're going to plan and manage project compliance. You're going to confirm project compliance requirements such as security, health and safety, sustainability, regulatory compliance. You're going to classify compliance categories. You're going to determine potential threats to compliance. You're going to use methods to support compliance. You're going to analyze the consequences of non-compliance. So critical. So the number one area in risk is non-compliance. Determine the necessary approach and actions to address compliance needs. You're going to measure the extent to which projects are in compliance. Task three, we're going to manage and control change. We're going to execute a change control process. We're going to communicate the status of proposed changes. We're going to implement improved changes to the project, and we're going to update project documentation to reflect those changes. Task four, we're going to remove impediments and manage issues. We're going to evaluate the impact of impediments. We're going to prioritize and highlight impediments. We're going to determine and apply an intervention strategy to remove, minimize impediments. We're going to release and reassess continuously to help ensure impediments, obstacles, and blockers for the team are being addressed. We're going to recognize when a risk becomes an issue. We're going to collaborate with relevant stakeholders on an approach to resolve the issues. And then task five, we're going to plan and manage risk. We're going to identify risk. We're going to analyze risk. We're going to monitor and control risk. We're going to develop a risk management plan. We're going to develop a risk management plan. We're going to maintain a risk register. We're also going to execute a risk management plan, the risk responses for security and managing sustainability of risk. We're also going to communicate the status of a risk on the project. In task six, we're dealing with continuous improvement. We're going to utilize lessons learned. We're going to help ensure continuous improvement processes are updated and also update the organizational process assets, the OPAs. Under task seven, supporting organizational change. We're going to assess organizational culture. We're going to evaluate the impact of organizational change in projects and determine required actions. In task eight, we're going to evaluate external business and business requirements and changes. We're going to survey changes in external business environments, such as regulations, technology, geopolitical, market changes. We're going to assess and prioritize the impact of project scope, backlog based on changes in the external business environment. And we're going to continuously review the external business environment for impacts on project scope and backlog. Those are the domains. So this page just highlights PMP certification eligibility requirements. There have been some changes. It looks like they're opening up the window. It used to be 8 years of experience that they would utilize for being eligible for the PMP. Now they're opening it up to 10 years of that eligibility of that project work that you can qualify for. There is a list of the educational background, expectations, and then either you have to complete high school diploma, GED equivalent, and then you have to either meet the 60 months, which is equivalent to 5 years of non-overlapping project management experience within 10 years. If you have an associate's or higher, you can have a minimum of 48 months, which is equivalent 4 years of non-overlapping. Non-overlapping is critical. If you have a bachelor's degree, then it's 36 months of non-overlapping in the last 10 years. And then post-grad, then you can have a minimum of 24 months of non-overlapping over the 10-year. So they've increased the window of time, which will allow more individuals to be eligible to sit for the exam. So that will provide more opportunities. On this page, one of the key things I want to highlight is they talk about commercial training requirements. In addition, you have to meet the 35 commercial training hours in project management, and they provide the options. As you see, number one, there is the PMI authorized training partner program, which EverTech is one of the providers of. And so we utilize PMI licensed content to provide that 35 hours of training. It's aligned towards the exam and the exam content outline. They're going to provide us all the new training just at in April of next year, in April of 2026. They're going to provide all the authorized training partners, so we don't have to create it by ourselves. We don't have to rely upon individuals to create it and adapt it. They've already done that for us. It's an investment that we have done, and they're obviously investing in us. They also produced post-secondary academic education and project management, an exam content outline, the learning course, etc. That information as well is listed. They also have credit for prior learning paths. Basically, if you have a CAPM, then that's the credit for the previous learning path. How to record your experience and education during the application, the number of project management experience. This is talking about the diagram of the no overlapping. So even though you see with these projects, the overlapping that happens right here is not being applied. They only count that as 2 months. Even though this was 3 months and there was two different projects, they only count that extra as 2 months. There have been changes to the certification in regards to the amount of questions and the allotment of time. There are now 5 more questions on the exam. It went from 180 questions to now 185. And it went from 230 minutes to now 240 minutes. So you have more time, but also more questions. As you see, the number of scored questions is 175. So there are going to be 10 pre-test questions that are not going to be scored. You're not going to know which ones are not being scored. It's a whole day. It's 4 hours essentially of your day taking this exam. So you want to take this when you're ready. There are new question types. As you see, a case or scenario. This is new. Presented with a detailed scenario situation, which may include graphs or charts that to provide additional context. This could be a description of a business, a project, a decision process, or a combination of any. This is new. This is where I was mentioning that new added complexity, and this is if you're not currently training to that, if you're currently training to the current exam content outline, I'm empowering you to take the current as it is right now versus this new exam. They also have enhanced matching. As you can see over here, enhanced matching can include images or diagrams to help clarify items being matched. So in an example below, the candidate would drag one of the boxes to the right to a specific location, and it may include additional elements like drag and drop functionality. So this is much more interactive. Graphic-based questions. This type of question requires a candidate to refer and interpret visual information such as charts, graphs, diagrams, and images, and then answer questions based off of the information. So that's completely new. And then obviously they have their multiple choice, single response, multiple choice, multiple response, and point and click. Those are common forms of questions that you would see on the exam, matching and then pull down list. So those are normal, traditional, but those new added ones are more interactive. So if you're studying for the current exam as it is, I would really empower you. In fact, I would recommend you taking it as is because there's new areas of focus and emphasis. As you see, the AI and sustainability are new areas of focus that were not previously listed in the previous exam content outline. They may have been a footnote, but they were not a predominant area. Now they are predominant areas. That business environment has expanded and exploded. So taking the PMP exam, you can either take it in person in a computer-based testing or paper-based testing center. That's through Pearson VUE. And you can also take the online proctored exam through also Pearson VUE, and you can take it within your home. There are retaking requirements. So I believe you have up to 3 attempts within a year's of eligibility if you do not pass it within that period of time. So there is a waiting period. So if you do fail, and that's one of the main reasons why I try to tell everyone that I speak to, if you're not ready, Do not take it. It's something that who would want to take a 4 hour exam if they're not ready? Make sure that you're ready when you get in there. Align yourself with the authorized training partner. This exam is changing drastically. The whole entire exam content outline has changed. All the percentages, the weights, they're going to be completely different, new question types. So you're going to need to align yourself more than ever now with an authorized training partner because PMI obviously is for a cost because we had to invest in PMI to even be a part of that program, because it gives us visibility as an authorized resource provider. But also we have to, for each student, there's a cost for us to provide each license to their authorized training content. And we have live and on-demand training resources that we have available as an authorized training partner. So definitely follow this. And I appreciate you for looking at this video. There are a lot of changes. Make sure that you're aligning with an authorized training partner because over the next 8 months, you're going to hear a lot of noise. The best way that you're going to hear the most accurate noise is from authorized training partners. We have monthly meetings with PMI where they give us the main insight. Obviously, we have to sign NDAs. We can't release it unless they release that information, but we're basically an extension of them as an authorized training partner. So look forward to having you join our journey, our learning journey, and definitely come back to this page, like, share, and subscribe. See you soon.